Make It Rain fans, welcome to another episode of Make It Rain. We are back with episode number 7, NFL Week 10, Make It Rain, presented by Metaverse HQ, joined by Jake, JJ, and Theric. Gentlemen, how you doing today?
Doing good. Doing very good.
Doing solid. I can't say good due to the recent, crypto market happenings, but, Reignmakers side of things, we're all good. We're having a good time.
Yeah, we're having a blast. I mean, football taking us through the dark times in the crypto world. I mean, can't have it any other way.
That's what it's here for at the end of the day, right? Thankful for Reignmakers and fantasy. Obviously, there's been a lot going on in the crypto world, and this has kind of been our little reprieve from that. So, duly noted there, gentlemen. Well, very good. Thanks for coming on for another week. Excited to have everyone on. As we usually do, we like to touch and review on a lineup from one of our hosts from the previous week, and JJ has just been crushing it lately. Another big sweat. Just running out of t-shirts in the house, I'm sure. Just you're sweating all the way through them. But JJ, go ahead and take some time here and talk us through this showdown lineup.
Yeah, so this one was probably the closest thing to optimal. You could probably debate one spot, which was Kenyon Drake, right? I just thought he was going to get a ton of usage. Whenever Gus Edwards is out, he tends to get the ball a lot, both in the passing game and in the rushing game. Kind of got nervous because, whenever he would score a touchdown, I'm like, shit, I'm knocked out of the top now. But, I was talking to Theric about it, and we noticed, like, no one's playing their other plays in this captain spot in these showdowns because, you got the $800, $900 quarterback. Like, you gotta be kind of crazy, right? To play it in anything other than the captain spot. But, if you don't have good serials, right, that's probably a good spot where you can get leverage, right? You don't even have to get too much different. You could just play the same optimal 4 players and then just pivot off the captain. And then, one pivot off of that, you can probably get differentiated enough with Lamar Jackson in the captain spot. So, yeah, I had, Lamar Jackson, so QB1, RB1 with Kenyon Drake, and then RB1 other team, Kamara, and then Olave. For the Saints side, just on the bring back because Olave's usage was pretty nuts. You can see that actually JPNYC got the double dink. He got first and second place, right? Got outbeat me on the serials there, so beat me on the tiebreaker with the same lineup. But just as we're talking about, right? He just did one pivot, probably off optimal. You can actually maybe even argue that that's optimal with Dalton in there, but. Dalton pulled it through in the end with that garbage time touchdown that the tackler just didn't want to make the tackle, and I can't blame him, man. The game was already over, so what's the point? But third place, we'll take it. $1,000 in the bank and keep it rolling till the next week.
It shocks me, and like we were talking about that, but I guess people are so scared of losing money in this mode that they're playing it as safe as possible, especially in the showdown modes. Just either they're throwing in the cheapest lineup possible and hoping they can get them in cash, or they're trying to make their really expensive lineup cash in whatever way possible. They're not taking risky plays like putting Kenyon Drake in the captain spot or anything like that because they're too worried about getting no money if he has a bad game or something. Where you put Lamar in the captain, you put Kamara in the captain, most likely one of those two they're gonna at least get you a good floor. So I think there's a lot of nervousness and a lot of people just trying to trying to play it safe and make some of their money back. And so if you're willing to play riskier or you're willing to pivot, I think there's a lot more edge to be made there.
And again, contest size is a big thing for these two. Like, if this is the same lineup in core or rare, those contests where there's 5x, 20x, the amount of entries of elite here, then it's going to get duped, that much more times as well, right? So you got to think through that. Think through your serials. If you don't have low enough serials, then you're going to have to get farther off the optimal in order to get different, or else you're going to get duped a bunch of times, and the people who dupe you, are going to place ahead of you. So
yeah,
you really ruin your chances in EV. You want to get more different, the higher the zeros you have.
Well, that was the thing, and I think JJ and I and you and I will discuss this as we're sweating the slate. Is JJ will say, "Man, my lineup's there, and I'm the only one there," and I'm looking at it in rare, and I'm like, "What do you mean your lineup's unique?" That's like I got a train of 10 that's got that lineup in rare. It's unique and elite, so. It's just, as you move down tiers, you have to get more and more creative, because what is a unique lineup in elite is definitely not unique in rare, and even more so in core.
Yeah, I gotta say, people are not playing kickers in these enough, right? Probably Justin Tucker, maybe he didn't get there this time, but that's probably a good candidate for getting there. Especially in this kind of contest where there's not a lot of players in there, but Baltimore D, right, had more points than that. So, you could have won with that as well. So people are definitely just playing it safer, like you guys are kind of alluding to in the higher tiers. But in the lower tiers, I'm sure someone had Kenyon Drake at the captain core and just kind of took it down with the nuts.
Well,
yeah.
When your lineup costs $10, you're gonna just do ridiculous stuff. Someone probably had Traquan Smith in the captain and core. So
this was 2 nights actually in a row where you saw that, because the night before was the Chiefs game, and then the Chiefs game, most of the players had Mahomes, and maybe 20 players in elite had Derrick Henry at the captain spot, and that is like the leverage that you can get with a player that can smash the game, like Henry can.
Absolutely love it. Just another great shot at a bink here. Again, the best we can do is put ourselves in position late in the slate to make a little payday here and kind of let the cards fall where they may. And JJ, you've been doing that so consistently all season long, and it's just good to see some of the process work out here. And I have no doubt that one of these are going to poke through for a true big bink here. So keep firing away, my man.
Thank you, and I've gotten my fair share of luck, right? The Bills one, any catch would have put me in second or third place, but came through with that one. It was literally any player on the Bills side. But it's the way it rolls sometimes.
The way the cookie crumbles. Well, great stuff as always, my man. I think we wanted to kind of also touch on, as we are past the halfway point of the season here, going into NFL Week 10. Obviously, Reignmakers has been, a part of the landscape, the NFL landscape for us here this season. And I think it's time to kind of maybe circle back and maybe have a little discussion about where Reignmakers is, how the platform can improve, things we'd like to see moving forward, if those things are even feasible, if they're even realistic, to expect mass changes at this point, and maybe even taking a step further into next season, some things we'd like to see improvement wise. Derek, did you want to take the lead there and kind of give a little ramble on exactly where you think the platform can improve?
So the main thing I'm hearing from listening to podcasts of people that are winning the packs in regular DFS, it needs to be, especially on the marketplace side, it needs to be more user friendly. There's a lot of pain points in not only the context selection and everything like that, but also in the marketplace. Figuring out how to even view your cards is a pain in the butt to a lot of people, and so they don't know how to get their cards. They definitely don't know how to get their free pack. Now that they've added UFC, the UI for the Reignmakers homepage is a pain in the butt. The lobby is a pain in the butt. And so it's just really confusing and not very user friendly, especially to new users. And so I've listened to several podcasts where one of the guys won a Reignmakers Elevate Rare pack in one of the DFS contests he was playing, and he's complaining about he can't figure out which way to go. And he goes to the marketplace, he sees all the different NFTs that are for sale. He has no idea which ones matter, where his portfolio is. And to us that have been here for the whole season, like at this point, we know how to do it, but for someone new, you're just going to be completely lost trying to step in. So it definitely needs to be more user friendly. Needs to be more clear how to go and everything like that. I think we talked about it weeks before, but I think there needs to be a little bit more variation on how you win. You can in the showdowns. There's a lot of unique lineups that you can do, but right now in the main slate contest, there's really a certain tier of players that are going to win you a slate, and then everybody else is just kind of like, well, if you can throw them in cash and hope that you get them in that bankroll builder and you hit that, but they're not worth anything. And I talked about, you know, the deep rosters being an option for them, changing it, going the so rare route and making it a player score cap and having each player a certain score based on their fantasy points is a way they can do it. But some way where half the cards aren't dead if you're trying to win the fiat contests. That's the big one, to be perfectly honest. The other complaint that I heard on all those podcasts was, I just opened a card that's absolutely useless and worthless. Yeah, well, I was just, I mean, it's funny, it's good content to watch, but like when the regular user is doing it, it's like, why would I just got a Mark Ingram Elite. Why the hell would I, it's like, oh my God, I got an Elite pack and it's a Mark Ingram. Why the hell would I want to play this game if that's what they're going to give me? So something where, like, I know Mark Ingram's an extreme example, and I think the other one was a Mitch Trubisky rare, which is another extreme example, but something where, like, okay, I actually can compete with these cards. I can actually put something together rather than just, well, these are dead cards. That was a waste of a lot of money. Couldn't I just get paid $5 for this win in regular DFS instead? I mean, I think Peter, CSU Ram, the one of the guys behind Lucky Trader, was talking about how much skill there is in this game, how much edges and how much like thinking and strategy there is in this. But when the starting experience is confusing UI and getting dead cards that you can't play, and you're just going to lose you have no chance at winning first place with the cards you were given. It's just not a fun beginning experience. So that's what I would focus on, is onboarding the people so that it doesn't feel like you're just at a loss from the beginning.
Yeah, love those suggestions. I'm definitely right there with you. I think one of the biggest things, like you said, you know, more ways to win. I think that's actually their competitors, FanDuel's slogan, right? More ways to win. Yeah. I mean, like you said, the lack of you know, ability to use these role players in your lineups, like it's like kind of useless to even own one right now. Like there's not really a point, because they're not going to win you a lineup. They're not going to win you anything. So it's like, what's the point of even having these cards? Like they need to figure out a way to give some kind of utility there. I'd also love for them to really embrace like the technology of NFTs, and meaning that, like, let's do some burning, you know, let's do some burning or staking,
or even trading,
or trading, you know, like I mean, we had this technology, like you can do it. Like it's easy. Like you've seen, like by now, like in the NFT space, there's plenty of projects that have led the way. I mean, there's other you know, NFL projects, NFL All Day out there that does these kind of things that you can take examples of, you know, NBA Top Shot. You know, not definitely not everything from those projects, because there's been issues there. But, you know, but like the ability to burn for, like, maybe you burn a player who's gotten injured, or like a few people who got injured, and you get like a free pack out of it. You know, I think that would drastically improve the player experience doing something like that.
Yeah. Just give us a way to, like, either use the cards that are useless somehow, or get rid of them for a chance at a better card. Burn 5 cores and get a random rare card, or just move.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that. It'll reduce the amount of cards in the pool too, and you know, something so that, like, it's not a just miserable experience when you open it up.
Yeah, I can't add any more to those points, just because you know, I feel the same way about those. You know, I have a bunch of injured players, as you all know, and they're just kind of, you know, just sitting there in the collection, you know, dust on the trophy shelf. But you know, just kind of filling up the roster, and there's ways, you know, they can implement burn mechanisms or something to just give you maybe even like a wild card, like untradeable that you can use in certain weeks, just something, man. Not just radio silence, because I think that it turns off a lot of people, right? Like imagine you go into play and you spend $50 on a lineup, maybe that's your budget, and that's for the whole season, and then one or two of your players gets injured, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, that sucked. How do I get out? And then you go in the marketplace, and then you have to eat 10% of the marketplace fee to get out, and it's like, that was a terrible experience. I'm never doing that again. I'd say for me, one of the things that I would love to see, just in addition to the things that you guys were talking about, is some sort of in the player card itself, like a trade up or trade down system for cereals, right? Because I think you have a lot of players that don't care about cereals, and then you have a lot of players that do care. But if you have, like, let's say I have an Aaron Jones, right, and I want to upgrade his cereal, I have to pay a lot to sell mine, and then to buy a better cereal, right? That's like almost like 20-30% sometimes if you count both transactions. And so I would love to see it, like, I'm willing to pay more to that player, and I'm sure that player's like, hey, I just play the main slate. I don't really care about serial numbers, so let me get some extra bucks, and then I'll have the same player. Right? So that's something that I would love to see.
Yeah, and I think the feeling on cereals, until you really have a true sweat and realize you have no chance because the guy's got better cereals than you, it doesn't really click with you how important cereals actually can be, and so a lot of people just buy whatever, and they're hoping to min cash and everything like that. But when you have that sweat and you get in third place because first and second paid way more for their cereals than you, it's like, well, crap, how much money would that have cost me extra, and how much money did I lose for not doing that? But yeah, cereal, increasing your cereals would be great too. I also would like a hidden tab. If I can just
please.
If I could just hide some of my injured players, or hide that third string tight end that I've never heard of, it would be wonderful.
I can't sell my AJ Greens. Just let me hide them. 50 of them. God damn it.
And then I get a random email that my Olamide Zacchaeus is sold because of the showdown slate. I'm like, ooh.
We'll take those dollars, $1 at a time, literally.
Thank you for the 90 cents. I appreciate it.
All very fair points, gentlemen. Yeah, I think those would all be huge upgrades, I think, just for user experience and onboarding new users, right? The ease of that would just go such a long way. And then just the obvious UI improvements, right? And just ease of listing, ease of buying, ease of searching players, being able to purchase a player on the fly, even if you own them through the marketplace, right? Just like little bugs like that. It's just like so annoying. But at the end of the day, here we are, right? DJing with the best of them. So
I was going to say, so luckily they have 8 months of off season with NFL to figure out how to improve things rather than
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hopefully this is a nice foundation for them to build on into next year for sure, and any other product that comes along the way similar to this. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for touching on some of those product improvements we'd like to see from Reignmakers. I think this is a good spot to transition into our marketplace segment. We'd like to kind of pull up a graphic from one of our behind-the-scenes legends, Mr. Relic CK, where he puts together a nice little display of the weekly gainers and losers across all rarity tiers in the marketplace. JJ, did you want to go ahead and take the lead there?
Yeah, thanks, Boop. With the obvious, best gainers of the week, I mean, everyone could probably see it with their eyes closed. Justin Fields leading the charge at all tiers, core, rare, and elite, just gains across the board, just put up an absolute monster of a game right here. He's already averaging like 25 points in the last 3 games, and then late 45 on the Dolphins. Really love to see it. Looks good on tape, good usage, design plays for him. And now has the juicy matchup of Jake's favorite team, the Detroit Lions, who just give fantasy points galore to everyone except Aaron Rodgers, because apparently they don't know what they're doing over there in Green Bay, throwing picks at the goal line, 3 in a row, and they can't seem to run the ball. But who does run the ball is Atlanta, and that's why Cordero Patterson's kind of highlighting the core and rare there. we got the showdown game coming up this Thursday, the absolute snooze fest between the Falcons and the Panthers. Actually, a game that matters for divisional placement purposes. So obviously, Patterson just kind of slotted right in and got 2 touchdowns there. DeAndre Hopkins is another one. CeeDee Lamb. There's a lot of these players like Jamar Chase and Travis Kelce that are just popping up just because of they're probably the best options at their tier. We're kind of seeing the superstars be priced in and limiting lineup construction, right? Because you go to look at the slate and it's really hard outside of the superstars, especially at running back, to kind of find that value there outside of these few names here, Alvin Kamara and Ramondre Stevenson, as well as Dalvin Cook, who absolutely have great usage. Alvin Kamara over Ramondre over Cook, and they just kind of highlight the leaderboards there. I'm surprised, though, that we didn't see Travis Etienne pop up here, but I think that was priced in last week. Absolutely smashed it. RB1 kind of usage in that backfield there in the Jags, and I think he pops up actually, the momentum market floors snapshot that we do, and just see at the highest price players at each tier. And so, he's up there at $675 at Elite. So general trend is still continuing downwards, right? We track the momentum set floor just because it's the cheapest one across all sets. There was the 20% reduction in pack prices. So 10% more from the last week because it was 10% already and now it's 20%. So you'll start to see prices probably continue to drag until we get on to the playoffs, as there's unknown utility with these cards throughout. And just key to note, you should probably start looking to offload your players that are not playoff bound and try to keep your playoff bound players in the mix here, just so that that you'll get more runway out of them. But the clear caveat there again was Travis Etienne. He's going to win you several weeks probably with the rest of the season if he continues the usage the way that they're using him over at Jacksonville.
Something, JJ, you might be able to answer me that I've been trying to figure out is what is the balance you value between guys like Travis Etienne, Dameon Pierce, guys that are on teams that have absolutely no chance of making the playoffs, but they're just so good in their role that they could win you weeks. What do you? I've been struggling. I'm curious. This goes for Putin and Jake too, but how are you guys valuing these non-playoff bound but stud players as far as buying them, selling them, price wise?
Yeah, so I really don't want to hold them into the postseason, right? But I do want exposure, so I'm generally using them a lot in the pay-up spot, right? I'll have like a QB wide receiver stack at Elite, and then I'll play like a rare Travis Etienne in that lineup. Or, I'll start a kind of core going into a late swap, right? I'll do like 2 running backs and a wide receiver, and then one of those running backs is the pay up spot where it's, again, like Ramondre Stevenson at rare, and then like a running back I don't feel so good about, but, still have in my lineup mix. And then, wide receiver kind of in that same category as well. So just in case they do pop off, then I can kind of capitalize on like a good late swap scenario.
But reduce your risk by paying less for them than you normally.
That's right.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, the way I look at it is, kind of looking at how many games are left, and then how many games they're expected to play in playoffs, and kind of going off of like a premium or discount basis from there. So right now, we're heading into week 10. We got 9 more slates of regular season left. If there's one extra for playoffs, we kind of reduce their price by 10% expectation. If it's like a really good team, I'd probably do like 2 games. If it's like the Bills or the Eagles or the Chiefs, these top tier teams, and probably go like 2 game expectation in the playoffs. And then reduce their price by 20%. So I kind of like to go by that, depending on what team the player is on. And if it is reduced by too much, just because of the fact that they're not on a playoff team, then there's definitely still deals there. So it just depends on pricing for me.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one of the things that we kind of don't really take into account there with the in terms of what teams are playoff bound is how many of these teams will have to play week 18 and how many don't, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously the East divisions, right? They're going to probably have to play week 18 just because of how close they are. I mean, Bills could technically still be the 7th seed, right, in the AFC East, just based on how crazy that division is. Everyone's within 1 or 0 wins of each other, right? And it's kind of same story over at the in the NFC East as well. So just gotta subtract and add there. But another thing to kind of note is that some of these players, after they have a really good game, their price will be buoyed, so you might not even be paying a premium for them. Week to week.
Do we know? I know, and this is just off the top of your heads. I can't remember personally, but I know playoff bound teams that have their position locked will usually sit their players on the final week of the season. Do you remember if the non-playoff bound teams rest their studs the final week, or do they just continue to play like normal through week 18? I can't remember what's happened in the past.
Yeah, I think it depends on the team. There's definitely teams that have shut things down, even earlier, like, 5 weeks before, and then they just play like their QB3, their RB3. They want to see what they got, in the bench. Obviously, we'll still trot out their starters from time to time because people pay for the tickets, and you kind of want to keep them happy in that sense. But generally speaking, tends to be the case that it just depends from team to team.
For sure. It just makes me nervous for guys like Jonathan Taylor, where it's like, are they just going to shut him down in a few weeks just because the season's over and there's no reason to risk further injury? Or
I think there's definitely situations where a mild injury can become an IR situation real quick because of for that reason itself. It's just it is something to be mindful of, but just also something that's a little hard to predict. I would say.
Yeah. I mean, just going off of like the teams that we have on this sheet here, like I think they'll still want to see what they have with Etienne. Kind of give him all the reps throughout the rest of the season. I don't think they'll shut it down. They're not out of the hunt, right? They still have a chance, but it's really unlikely given their division. So as long as they're staying competitive, even more reason to play them. But on the other side of things, teams that just are looking like they'll not get there, they'll probably shut it down.
For sure.
Like Poops Raiders, potentially.
Should they shut it down week 1, bro? What are you talking about? But no, and there's also, right, like you guys touch on these fringe cases, like the entire NFC South, right? They could go one way or the other, but I mean, you look at the Saints. I mean, they're not a great team. They're one game out of first place right now, right? And obviously they've got a guy like Kamara in there that really is versatile in our lineups, kind of taking over some of that versatility that Saquon Barkley had when he didn't have his superstar label, right? So it's just, it will impact things, but we'll see how things shake out here for sure, because some teams that we think and know are not great teams, well, shit, they're still in the thick of it as far as things are concerned right now, so we'll see how it goes, but all fair points nonetheless. Did you guys want to talk through some underpriced and overpriced players for this week? Something we like to do every week is, again, scour the marketplace and kind of see where we can find some edges and some values. Jake, did you want to take the lead there and kind of see what's caught your eye this week?
Yes, sir. We'll start with the overpriced guy first. Someone I noticed who is, might look like a deal, based on his draft capital in the beginning of the year. But I still think he's overpriced, and that's Michael Pittman. His price has fallen for sure, but I still think it's a sell low, opportunity here. The Colts are a mess right now, especially at the quarterback position. They said Ellinger is their guy, for the rest of the season, and he has not looked good at all. Like, he cannot move the offense at all. There's just not much room there for high quality production, and that's what you're looking for in Reignmakers, right? We need to have, there's no room for the sleepers at all. It's just like you got to have the best players on your team. You got to have guys who can like be the number one receiver on the week. to really get the value out of your cards. And I just don't think Pittman can do that anymore with this offense. They just hired, Jeff Saturday as the interim coach. And he's never coached a game besides like high school football.
His high school football team record wasn't very good either.
It wasn't really.
It was 3-7 is what I heard. Yeah.
Oh my God. No way.
It's such a mess. They don't even have an offensive play caller for this week. I'm sure they do now. I think one was announced actually today, but
it's someone nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah, when they made the hire, they didn't have anyone on staff that had called a play. It's just like, all right, here we go. Which is against the Raiders this week, so I'm sure they'll put up 40.
But I mean, as a staff member too, that makes you feel good. It's like none of you that are actually coaches in the NFL are good enough for us.
Right. Yeah, here we go. I love the call, Jake. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so what's it? $4 for core, $22 for rare, $160 for elite. Still overpriced, in my opinion. He just, again, like we want the guys who are gonna be the number one receiver on the week, or at least have a chance to. Obviously, unless you're playing showdown, Colts still have many showdown slates. So look, it's just not gonna. I just don't think he can be that guy for you. So, in my opinion, sell low, move on. A flip side of things, as far as underprice goes, a guy who recently was a superstar and got that tag removed, and usually gives a nice bump to their value because you can play them up a tier. But he's really not seeing a huge increase in price, and that's Deebo Samuel for me as a wide receiver. $7 for core, $37 for rare, and $320 for elite is Deebo Samuel. And I mean, look, this guy's still a stud. We were drafting him, second round of fantasy basketball drafts. He had a huge year last year. He obviously had a ton of touchdowns, which is a high variance stat. But still, like that's a high powered offense right now. Obviously McCaffrey being there takes away some running opportunities for him. But regardless, like he's still going to get his touches. He's still an absolute stud. He's healthy now. He was hurting a little bit, but he was just a full participant in practice. We're recording this on Wednesday, and he was just a full participant. So he should be good to go to play this week. I think he has an island game. I believe it's the Monday night game, either the Sunday or Monday night game.
It's one of those two.
Yeah, against the Chargers.
Yeah, but I think you can fully fire him up and play him the rest of the year, and you're getting a nice discount on him. And again, like he's the kind of guy, he has the upside to be, the top wide receiver in a week. He can score 2 touchdowns, 100 yards through the air, get some on the ground as well. So, those are my overpriced, underpriced.
Yeah, my overpriced guy has got to be Dak Prescott. I mean, I think he will win a slate probably, but man, he's at $500 without having done much of anything, right? Doesn't have a ceiling within sight, but we'll see what happens. I mean, if any of the teams actually put up a decent fight, maybe, right? But that defense is just carrying that team, and I'm not saying that their offense is bad. It's just like they don't need to do anything else. Just let Micah Parsons and co do their job and get to the quarterback. But so that's my overpriced of the week. And obviously that will change throughout the season because, Dak is one of those that you can play up at quarterback, one of those valuable positions. So definitely one to monitor. But I have a whole slew of underpriced players just because, we're getting closer to the end and no one is looking at these wide receiver 2s or these tier 1 wide receivers, tier 2 wide receiver 1s, I should say. So you got Christian Kirk, right? I think if Jacksonville's going to put up any sort of a fight in that game versus Kansas City, they're going to have to do it through the air. I don't see them controlling the pace of the game through running the ball and short dink and dunk kind of passes. Like eventually they're just going to be put to the test just because of how their defense has just not been holding up against teams. And they had the good second half adjustment against the Raiders, but it's just the Raiders are just one of those teams that kind of shoot themselves in the foot. Sorry, Poop, but just how it is. Just how it is. Another player that is on my buy low is Donovan Peoples-Jones at $69 against Miami. He's definitely getting a ton of looks. Their schedule is filled with teams that are competitive and that they're probably going to have to throw the ball against, and I just like what they're doing over there. Mari Cooper's getting a lot of looks as well. especially in games that are competitive. And, once they start to play these shutdown corner kind of guys, you're going to have to shift over to the number 2 guy, Donovan Peoples-Jones or David Njoku. Those are the 2 likely options there. And then last guy, Josh Palmer, right? I think the Chargers are just banged up, man. Mike Williams, don't know when he's coming back. Keenan Allen just kept out of practice forever. And so, last week he got 1 million looks, got to like 21 points just based off of just pure receiving yards and reception value, right? Broke the 100-yard bonus, no touchdowns. I think that's a good candidate to get touchdown regression one of these weeks, especially if they continue to just have to throw the ball to these kind of guys on their team week to week.
Yeah, so my overpriced player that I was looking at was a guy that we were just discussing, which is Jonathan Taylor. His rare right now is about $40, and his core is about $7. And he's got the high ankle sprain, and it's usually because, especially for running backs, they do not come back very well on it. They're usually not the same. We saw it with Saquon. They can move around, but they're not going to play to the level that they were before they got the high ankle sprain. And it takes a while. It usually takes an off season of resting it up before they're back to their old selves. And so with him having a high ankle sprain, I swear the Colts are taking a page out of, I don't know if you guys have seen the Ted Lasso show, but it seems like they're just trying to pretend that they're going a new direction when they're in real life actually just purposefully pulling in random people to tank it. But with that god awful offense, and with him having a high ankle sprain, I just don't see how he gets I don't see a single week the rest of the season where he's going to burst off for 30 points, which is kind of what you're expecting out of him. He might get a 15-point game or something like that, but it's just he's basically going to not win you a single week is what my prediction is. And so I have him in Dynasty. I'm really sad about it, but I've seen it before with other running backs, and I don't know how he redeems that $40 that it costs you in rare to get him. So that is my guy for overpriced. My underpriced guy is looking at the rare tier, DK Metcalf. Right now he's only $27, and he still has the ceiling in him. I know people were worried about the injury. It's clear that, I don't know, either he's getting some good drugs or the injury wasn't as bad as we thought. But he's playing just like his old self. We just haven't really seen a ceiling game from him yet. But if we know anything by the past seasons, those don't happen every week. But when they happen big. They're 30-point games that he puts up. So assuming that Geno Smith can get that to him, which I think Geno Smith can in the right environment, he's got some big games ahead of him, this back stretch, and potentially even the playoffs, depending on how well Seattle continues to play. But him being so cheap was something that I was looking at and thinking he should probably be a $40, $50 player rather than a $28 player. So that's my underpriced guy.
Love it. Love the calls, gentlemen. Go ahead, JJ. We can finish up there.
No, yeah, love it. Just DK Metcalf, right? The Seattle defense has just been playing a lot better, and they just haven't had to do much, right? Yep. He's still getting the looks. He's still getting the volume. Lockett's getting the touchdowns. Tends to switch from these guys time to time, as past seasons have shown. And then once they actually have a test, that they're up against, then I think, you'll definitely see one of those ceiling games.
And we saw it with Joe Mixon, where everybody's like, oh, he's just not going to get the touchdowns. He doesn't get the good looks and everything like that. Lo and behold, puts up a 5-touchdown game. I'm not saying DK Metcalf would do that, but touchdowns are so variable that, if they haven't been getting any for a while, but they've been getting good looks, they're usually due for an explosive game.
Oh, good old Mixon. Good old Mixon. the bane of our existence last week. Yeah, great stuff, guys. Great stuff. I love the calls. A couple names I'll throw out there real quick as well. Big Jake's guy, Garrett Wilson. I know there's some quarterback, debate there in New York, but I do think as the weeks go on here, I mean, he's really kind of cemented himself as the alpha number one over there. Not that there was ever any debate, but he's been getting volume, he's been getting the looks, he's been producing. I think they'll get more and more comfortable there. I don't think Zach Wilson's been as bad as advertised in the public, even though he's been pretty horrible, but I think there's some room for growth there. So 370 core, $20 rare, 195 elite. I think there's some room for some value there. Terrace Marshall is another one in Carolina as well. He's dirt cheap, $115 core, $9 rare, 65 in elite. He's running all the routes. He's getting volume. He's getting targets. They're using him in the red zone. Big guy, can run some routes, and can really box people out there down in the red zone area. So probably a good bet for a couple touchdowns. I know the Carolina offense isn't anything sexy, but he is a guy that, due to a lot of their changes over there over the past couple of weeks, is going to have an opportunity here for an increased role. So I think you can buy low on him. Probably not a guy that's going to win you week to week, but if you're looking for some value, a guy you can kind of plug in.
He's got Showdown this week, so it's a good one for it.
On Thursday, and Garrett's on bye this week as well, so maybe an opportunity into the weekend, him being on bye, where maybe that price comes down even just a little bit more. So we'll see here.
Poop, you reminded me of one more guy, and that's George Pickens. Speculative right now, but he's $4 in core, $16 in rare, 160 in elite. And I don't know what we're going to see, if it's just going to be the same old terrible offense, or if the removal of Chase Claypool and the bye week does them some good. But it's just kind of, I'm just going to keep my finger on the buy button and watch how the Steelers play without Claypool and with a better, less difficult matchup this week. And it should be interesting to see if he can become an alpha, or if he's just kind of that role player guy.
Love it. Yeah, totally agree there. Great shouts all around, gentlemen. I think a lot of room, a lot of edge there for those watching, looking to make some marketplace purchases, buys or sells. I think those are a lot of good names thrown out there. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think from there we can move right into our favorite stacks, our favorite games to target on the week. Jake, did you want to go ahead and dive right in and lead us through this conversation?
Yeah, so like we do every week, starting out taking a look at the slate. We're really focusing on the team totals here to get a good idea of how many points Vegas expects these teams to score on the week. That's higher they are. Usually that's the games we like to stack. Me personally, I'm going to go back to the well on the Miami Dolphins. That offense has just been firing on all cylinders. Tua's looked really good, and the pair of wide receivers and Waddle and Tua, or Waddle and Tyreek, I should say, have been excellent this year. Tyreek has that superstar tag on him now, so limits a little bit of flexibility, but still, an excellent buy in my opinion. He's been an absolute stud. So the Tua Tyreek stack, or the Tua Waddle stack, or if you want to double them up, which I rarely recommend for Reignmakers, but I think this is a high-powered enough offense where we can see, and we already have seen, these two absolutely go off at the same time, and that you can do that. And then, running it back, it's actually a great game to stack, and with a bring back as well with the Browns, because you can run it back with either Nick Chubb or Amari Cooper, and I think both are good plays. And Miami's defense has been one, that's been giving up points on the other end too, and they've been in a lot of shootout type environments. So that's personally my favorite game right now, is that Browns-Dolphins game with that Tua stack.
Yeah, I gotta say. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Poop. I gotta say, I agree with you. That was the game that I was going to choose as my primary stack. Probably going to totally game stack it with 5 players from that game, and then have pieces of it in other games as well, right? Just another game that I think could play to the over, that it's kind of disgusting, is this Raiders-Colts game. Just don't want pieces from the Colts, but probably want some exposure to, Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and not having any car, but just one of those where I'll have just secondary pieces from that team from that game. And then other than that, no other games kind of fit my liking this week. Maybe just the Saints with Olave, maybe get a ceiling game from him this time around.
It's kind of a rough slate this week. There's not a lot of appealing games, isn't there?
No, I think there was with the Vikings Bills until the Josh Allen situation came out. TBD if he's going to be playing or not. But if he's not playing, Case Keenum, while it's a bit of a revenge narrative there, probably not even close to the same player that Josh Allen is. So you kind of see that reflected in the total there.
Yeah, and the line keeps dropping, making me think that he's either going to be limited or he's going to be out this week. So,
Did anyone touch on the KC Jacksonville game yet? Did I space it out? No,
nobody touched on it yet.
Yeah, I think that was going to be the one. Straight to the top of the totals. I think live total right now is 50.5. Top total of the week right now in Vegas. Mahomes Kelsey is always a crowd pleaser. I think what JJ touched on earlier, with a little Etienne and Kirk, I think it has some legs to it as well. Obviously, top total on the slate, and there's some pieces you can kind of mix in there.
Juju has been quietly being a wide receiver 1 too lately.
Absolutely, absolutely. Which is nice to see
at the beginning of the season.
For sure, because one of the most frustrating parts of that KC offense, it's going to go to Kelsey, right? But it's just who else is going to get a piece of that pie, because they do spread it around quite a bit. It is nice to see it being funneled somewhat through Juju a little bit as well. So nice there, but I'll throw that game out there as well.
Yeah, it looks right now like it's Kelsey and Juju are the main targets. Hardman's the gadget guy, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling likes to run wind sprints, so that's basically it, right?
That's what he is.
But I will probably have each of those in my player mix, just because last week you saw with this kind of compressed, this kind of 10-game slate with the bye weeks going on. You have 20 points in receiver taking it down, right? Outside of the superstars. So 20 points could probably get you there. And any of these guys, unfortunately, or fortunately for Kansas City, can get you to 20 points, as we saw in the showdown game just a few nights ago.
I will mention one other quick thing is doing a Jared Goff stack with Amon-Ra St. Brown. The total for that game is ridiculously high, and everybody's going to be on Justin Fields in that game. And the last 2 games where Justin Fields really went off, they were both pretty much shootouts. So it was both sides just putting up ridiculous points. So if the total and the spread's only 3 too, if the total and the spread stay the same, then it's expecting to be a somewhat of a shootout. And Amon-Ra, he hasn't gotten the touchdowns, that touchdown variance, but he's getting a 30% target share almost constantly, which is huge. And so the touchdowns should come, and this may be a week for that. So as a pivot from everybody playing Fields lineups and just putting in random pieces around them, doing a Goff stack and hoping that the Lions can keep up might be a good option as well.
Yeah, I love it. You saw people going to Fields plus Tyreek, or Fields plus Tyreek and Mono last week. So
that's another option too, is just doing Fields and then doing Amon-Ra and as one of the players and not playing Goff. If you think Fields is going to outscore Goff, then stack it up that way. Stack the game up that way.
Yeah, I don't think Mooney's out of the question either. I mean, they've shown some real rapport with each other. They really have, and Mooney is a guy that can go up and get it. He's athletic and fast, and he can make things happen downfield. I think he's really developed into that true number 1 over there, especially in these games where Fields is able to really get going and put up some real points. He's got a nice rapport with Mr. Mooney over there. Great stuff, gentlemen. I think we ran down what we needed to on this upcoming slate. Lots to look forward to. It's a little bit tighter this week, it seems like. A little similar to last week, but maybe even a little bit more tight. But that is the hand we're dealt, and we will make the most of it.
I got one wild question, hot take for you guys. Titans Denver game.
What you got?
Any of you playing defense in a flex, in a throwaway lineup? If this pops off, then I will late swap into heaven, because nobody's.
You could do Titans D and just assume that Denver is just as awful as we expect. But, yeah.
I mean, one of these weeks, a defense going to score 30, man. It hasn't happened yet, but one of these weeks.
Last week, New England scored 24.
Yeah,
and that'll be the week JJ binks the 100K.
Yeah, the defense.
I mean, you've been calling it all week long, or all season long. It's going to happen. It's bound to. All right, that's the way it happens. You just got to roll the dice a little bit and grow some of those cojones and throw it out there. But yeah, I think it'll hit one of these weeks. Man. You've been calling all along. All right, so one segment we like to do every week here on Make It Rain is our bankroll challenge, our lineup challenge. It's a segment where we started with a $50 bankroll at the beginning of the season. We've built a lineup and made adjustments along the way, depending on injuries and production, all those fun things. And really, the goal of the segment is to show viewers of the show that you don't necessarily need to be a Make It Rain or NFT whale to have success and have a good time with Reignmakers. There is a lot of edge and a lot of room for profit week to week. And I think we've done a good job of showcasing that. I think we've finished in the money pretty much every week, if not every week to this point. So we'll toss it on over to Mr. Therick over here and have him walk through our lineup and what we kind of experienced last week, where we cashed, and any adjustments we made for this week. Go ahead, Therick.
So last week we fell back into the min cash, but I think we've min cashed every single week, which has been great. And unfortunately, this week we are having to sell, I believe 3 out of 5 players. We had to sell Eckler because he has the showdown slate. Lockett has a showdown slate, and DJ Moore has that god awful Thursday game coming up. But we have made some money, set aside some money, and we're able to get some decent prices on these players since they're going into showdowns. And so we ended up with $31. And so yeah, keeping an eye on the market and buying lower cost cards when they become available, we decided to go with this lineup, which is we're going to keep the Goff and Amon-Ra stack. Hope that Goff can keep up with Chicago. Kamara was only $12, and so we were able to afford him. Tyreek Hill we were able to get for $13, and is going to be our superstar for the week. And then Aaron Jones, because everybody's scared of that Q tag, was only $6. And so that ended up being 31 nice and perfectly. So
this looks like a win here. This looks like a dub.
It's an extremely strong lineup. I'm really happy. I'm hoping Aaron Jones is 100%. I think he will be. It sounded like it wasn't a big deal, and they were just trying to be cautious because Green Bay was playing so god awful against Detroit. But other than that, it's looking good. We're getting stronger and stronger, and it's projected for a really good time. So hopefully we see some ceiling games out of some of these players, and it should be a pretty sweet week.
Awesome. Love it. I mean, you can really see the progression of the lineup from week one, I think, and we've done a great job with it and piecing it together week to week. Obviously, I had to deal with some things along the way, but I love this lineup. It feels good. Feels like more than a min cash to me. It smells like more than a min cash to me. We'll see how. Go ahead.
This is a top 10, maybe.
This is a top 10. It feels, yeah. I'm feeling it. Good stuff. We'll see how it shakes out, obviously, into week 10, but great job piecing that one together, fellas. Feeling good. Feeling real good. We will take this segment and roll right into our DGen segment, our pack rip segment, which we do weekly as well. Mr. Jake and Bake has been so generous and kind with his donation of packs to this point, and we have another one this week, another a nice rare pack for us to rip open and test our RNG fate. Mr. Jake, take it away.
Yeah, unfortunately didn't hit anything higher than a rare this week for us to rip. But hey, looks like we have chance to get elite, only a 2.5% chance to elite. That kind of sucks, but hey, we can still get something good out of a rare. So let's go for it. No CSV this time. We're just going to go straight at it.
And
see what we get.
Just butt naked. I love it. Give it to us. Show us that blue.
Sun God coming.
Okay.
We're still in it. Let's go.
CD Lamb.
CD.
All right. That's
There
actually
we
decent.
go. We will take that. That is playable. That is more than playable.
Yeah, he's projected really well this week, so let's go.
Finally hit a good one here on stream. There we go.
There we go.
Just needed a worse pack, I guess.
Had to be
Dubs
the rare
all
pack.
Yeah, right. Had to be the rare pack.
Now,
Hey, we'll take it.
Yeah. Now, as part of our
day.
product improvement segment, we will ask DK to make a way to transfer this over to Theric's account so we can play it in our actual week-to-week lineup challenge lineup. But no, that's a great hit right there. Great stuff. I'm sure we'll see it on the marketplace here in about 30 seconds. Great stuff. All right. Well, that one felt good. Nice. Hopefully that's a precursor to the week ahead for all of us. Some good juju in the air. I think that's going to about wrap it up for this week's show. A nice wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. We kind of ran right through it, but it was nice and tight. Thank you guys very much for being a part of the show again, and to all of our viewers out there in the audience. Thank you for tuning in once again for episode number 7 of Make It Rain. Make sure you check out all of our socials on Twitter, Make It Rain, Metaverse HQ's Twitter. We're on YouTube, TikTok as well, everywhere that you can find us. Think about taking a look into Metaverse HQ as well. We are a NFT focused community, but we really do cover all things Web3. There's a lot of good conversation going on there on all Web3 topics. Most importantly, for Reignmakers, we have a nice thread in there with a bunch of sharps, a lot of people talking DFS, Reignmakers throughout the day. So if you are interested in joining us, feel free to come on, drop any of us a DM across any of our socials, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. That being said, thank you all for watching and joining us. Good luck with the upcoming slate. Let's make it rain.